Hey, YouTube fans, JC Sherbert here with the Big Spur Brief here, February 10th. Breaking news just comes in off the wire. It's rare we have that here, but the Garnet and Black spring game is going to be at night. Jamie Bradford from JB and Goldwater originally reported that a few weeks back, to give him credit for that on a Saturday morning, no doubt. But it's official. 7 p.m. kickoff, going to be a concert by Patrick Davis. Prior to kickoff, lots of activities. They're calling it the Big Gamecock Weekend. You got an Ole Miss baseball series at Founders Park. Beach volleyball's playing. We all love beach volleyball. Kind of like a homecoming for the spring, I think, for Gamecock Nation. Outstanding decision by the administration. Ray Tanner, Chance Miller, Eric Nichols, Shane Beamer, the head football coach. They were able to work the baseball thing out. Just a super deal, I think. I think this has kind of been something they should have done a while back, but never quite came together. Well, it's coming together now. When you think of Gamecock football, you think of night games. I mean, that's kind of one of the things that's special when you talk about the program or games at night at Williams-Brice Stadium. Place is just electric. A lot of night games this past year, Shane Beamer's first year. Always good for Steve Spurrier to come back around. Of course, he's an ambassador at the University of Florida. His alma mater now, lives down there, but he's in Columbia quite frequently. And surprisingly enough, Wednesday, he was at the basketball game and at halftime gave Shane Beamer the Steve Spurrier Award for first-year coaches. It goes to the best first-year coach in the country. Really good award idea, I think, and just good for him to get back. He addressed the crowd. The quote was, South Carolina Gamecock Nation will always live in the Spurriers. And people maybe forget this is, Spurrier was there 10 and a half years at South Carolina. Wife Jerry has a graduate degree from South Carolina. I think it's a master's. His son Scott is a graduate and played at Carolina as a walk-on. He's in coaching now at the University of Arizona. So there are some family connections to South Carolina. I think anytime you're at a place for a decade, you do have those ties. And it was just good to see Coach Spurrier back and giving that award to Coach Beamer if you're a Gamecock. Devonte Holloman's back. The former Gamecock, speaking of the Spurrier era, former Gamecock Spur and head coach at South Point High School in Rock Hill, has been hired as an off the field staff. There was a rule that kind of put that in question for a while, but the NCAA has backed off of it, because Omega Blake from South Point, who Holloman coached, is on the roster. But they took care of that and got it approved and all that good stuff. Devonte, tremendously talented guy. I mean, a very smart, cerebral coach, a winner, won a state championship at South Point. The sky's the limit for Devonte Holloman as a football coach. And South Carolina is very fortunate to get him back involved with the program in an off-the-field capacity now. I think at some point, though, it's going to turn into a full-time on-the-field thing. And I think the guy could be a head coach in college one day. I really do. Or the pros or whatever he wants to do. He's Devonte Holloman. So that's really, really good, I think, when you start talking about it. Basketball, things did not go so well against Kentucky. It was not a blowout. I thought the team fought hard, but there are no moral victories. The disappointing thing is I think to beat Kentucky, and Frank Martin pointed this out after the game, you have to guard. You have to play defense. I mean, the chances of you winning without playing good defense against Kentucky are slim. But, for the players and all that, I like the fact that unlike the Tennessee game where things started going south and they just kind of hung their head, they fought, and they were down in the first half double digits, ended up tying the game at one point, and Kentucky was just too good. So we'll see what happens. They got to go to Georgia this weekend. That's a scary game because the Dogs have had some times at home this year where they've played pretty well. Last Saturday, they almost knocked off number 1 Auburn. They did beat Alabama at home earlier this year, and they've lost 11 in a row to the Gamecocks. So, they're probably pretty sick of losing to South Carolina. And this is a South Carolina team coming in on a 3-game losing streak. So we'll see what happens. I don't think that the Kentucky outcome, unless it was a win, I don't think playing them good has anything to do with, what may happen moving forward. I mean, it's really cut and dry. This team has to go on a massive run. Now, when you talk to Frank Martin, and he's in the press, he talks about, hey, we still got a shot at this and all that. And I think as a coach, you should. And I think, the next two games certainly are on the road, but they're winnable at Ole Miss and at Georgia. So, and then they come back and we'll see what happens from there. Frank did mention #1 Auburn on the road at the end of the season. So we'll see what happens there. So a lot of good stuff happening around Gamecock Nation. Again, thank you for subscribing to this YouTube channel. And it's also on Twitter. Also, check out Inside the Gamecocks podcast. We'll have a JC and Morgan podcast for those of you that listen to that later today with a very special guest. So check all that out. And again, appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in here on the Big Spur Brief on the YouTube channel.